So the hat has been carved and boiled and bent and put into the jig. And it's been sitting in the jig drying for at least 24 hours. These clamps to the rear of the hat are holding it into position. And so the next stage is to simply take the hat out of the jig. And then the hat is ready to be removed from the jig. So you just simply slide it out. And the hat is in the proper shape now. It has a curve across the front of it to where you have a nicely formed front of the hat. And then the rear of the hat is curved to fit the back of your head.
Okay, so you go ahead and you do draw your center line, measure it up. Yep, make it pretty dark. Okay, take the clothespin off your top. Okay. I would do this side first because that side, there we go. And Delores, we have to be very careful because it has a split, two splits, one from the sap line and one, then she'll be able to just slide it right off the jig and do the 4 clamps. There you go. The short visor does not need the strap to keep it shaped. This keeps it shaped real well. And there's the inside of the hat. The inside you could barely see the crack, but glue and sinew will close it up. She's ready to sand and glue hers on the back. So this is a full crown, and you can see how it's slacked up and dried because this was nice and taut before when we bent it the other day. So all we do here is just look for the wedges. You can see where I have the holes. Take the wedges out. You can see how it already loosened up. Take the back brace off. And it should pop out. And there is my full crown hat. And it can be fixed. You can see where the owies were, but the black clips will hold it in until we glue it. So minus my crack in there, they look pretty good over the top. Yep. And then they both need to be, of course, sanded. Let's turn them around in the backs. Good pieces of wood, both cottonwood trees. This is dried more.
We'll take some simulated sinew and a needle and we'll lash across this part. If we don't do that, the hat will spread apart here.
And go ahead and mark it, 2 holes.
And so what we'll do is we'll drill 2 holes on this side of the hat and 2 holes right about here.
And then after he drills a hole, he'll use a carving tool. So you can see the little holes, 2 on each side. Okay, so then you're going to get sinew about 18 inches long. Then he'll run the sinew on there to hold the shape. And that's important to get that done as soon as it's out of the jig. You could try to split it. It could split into 4. You can do the whole one? Okay. Oh, he's got it. Okay, so he's going to make it so it goes, all the string will meet in the center, the inside of the hat. So it goes straight across on the far one. And this is what you do with the medium and the long visors. We don't have to do this on the short or the chief's hat. So there's a piece of wood there. Okay. could see where it countersunk for when he did the V's. It'll sink in, so when he sands, you won't even see that. It's flush now. So now you'll do, the knot that we do is the same knot I was doing on the inside of the hat. It's, I don't know, a fisherman's knot, so it doesn't slip. So you just do the loop here, and then you'll do a series of half hitches, loop it in there, and then you'll tug it up. You want to keep it in the center. Okay, and then do 3 on that one string, closest to me. Yep. Okay, good. Do 3 on that one side, and it's pretty tight. Okay, and then the excess string here, you just want to pull that over, and then you're going to do all of those. And then you can cut it when you're done with that. You can, I usually go from knot to knot on there. And we like to center it up with the center line so you don't look cross-sided down your hat. Actually, you don't even see it. Okay, and then you just snip it off with your X-Acto, and then you could hit it with a lighter after and to melt it. Otherwise, it stays pretty snug. And you can see how I could flex this hat a little bit. It'll be the support so your hat doesn't spread out any farther than that. The 2 long parts will overlap, so that'll become skinnier than the regular part of your hat. And then you overlap them, and they will be attached.
One of the first steps is to drill holes into the back of the hat. This part of the hat we call the wings. So you'll drill holes here and here, and then you'll lash the hat to where it's held in the back.
Before you take the hat out of the mold or the jig, you want to mark your center line. So when you go to glue it, put it back so the center line matches up. So it's really important to not just do it on one piece, but on both pieces. And you'll do this while it's in the jig still, and you'll try and match it up with that line in the jig before you take it out. But it's just really important that you do it on both pieces, so when after you glue it, you can put them back together and they line up. So you'll take off these clips that are holding it together. You'll put them back on after you put the glue in. And you can see that it pretty much keeps its shape. You will take some wood glue, spread this apart a little bit, and you'll put glue in all along here. And I don't know if you can see the glue is in there. You don't need much. And you can either spread it around with your finger, or I just like to put the 2 pieces together and rub them around. And then you'll make sure that they line up again. The center line. Wipe your excess glue away so it doesn't dry real big. So once you've glued, you'll want to clip the hat back together. And you don't want to clip directly on to the wood because the clips have a chance of sticking. So we use saran wrap or a plastic bag just so it doesn't stick. Try and make sure it doesn't have any printing on it. I've noticed that if you don't watch out, you can get some paint transfer. And luckily for me, the inside is supposed to be red anyways, so that's not a big deal. But if it was on the outside, I would have to sand that up. But since I've already just glued this, I am going to wrap it because I have a big enough piece. If you don't have big enough pieces, then you can just take the clip and put the thing in between. Like this, whatever works best. But we're going to clip it so it sticks together. And you want to clip the edges, basically, so they don't come up. And make it nice and tight. And that's gluing your hat. So I'm learning now how to mend a crack. We glued it. I'm gonna probably drill some holes and stitch it back together and then putty it.
I gotta glue it anyway. But then sewing, I could stitch it up and then I could take the thread out later if I wanted. Otherwise I could just, you know, keep it in there. This is gonna try to crack around that knot so it wouldn't hurt to. And you're gonna sand this off anyway, or sand the outside of it off. Just a sec. Okay, I drilled the holes there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the sinew, and then I could be able to suck that seam closed like that. It'll be just like lacing a shoe to tighten it up. Cross it like a tennis shoe or a boot. And this is just to hold it, hopefully suck it in more if the tape didn't suck it in enough. So that'll be less of a hole for when the when I have to come and put the putty in there. Okay, so I'll just let that dry and then we'll do the putty on it tomorrow. Just make like a wood putty. We have sawdust from inside the bandsaw. I'll put glue down on my paper first. Get my stirrers. Add in my putty. And then I just mix it up till it's a nice thick paste consistency. Put some more glue. And I want to, it doesn't hurt to have extra. You could fill holes of other hats and stuff like that. And then I'm just mixing, trying to mix it to the good consistency where it's not too soupy, but it's going to be good enough to fit in my seams of my chief's hat. So I had a hole in there and I want to cover it. And this, remember the inside of your hats are going to be stained red anyway, so you're not going to see this. You want to put it on there nice so it's not so lumpy. And the part that I'm filling up, before we were bending this hat, we had a V in there, and so now it close it up. And I'm going to just touch it up with my fingers to smooth out all the excess. And I flip it over to do the other side. And then where I had that seam, I'm going to fill that up. And then I'll just cut or sand that string off, because it'll hold it in shape after. And we'll fill those holes. Almost a perfect amount. And like I said, you could put it on there pretty good, and I'll sand it all off anyway.